Welcome to Sales TV, where we tackle the reality that there's no easy button in sales. If you're a sales representative or account executive looking to navigate the complexities of modern sales and grow meaningful conversations, you're in the right place. In every episode, we explore one thing that can help you elevate your performance and achieve success without shortcuts. And without further ado, welcome, Mr. Gray. It's lovely to be together with you on Sales TV again.
Yeah, absolutely. And a happy new year to you and to everybody watching.
Happy New Year indeed. Indeed. So are you a resolution man or not?
No, I mean, if something needs to be done, I'll try to just do it when it needs doing rather than wait till the new year.
Yeah.
But I do think that the concept of making a resolution is a really good one.
Yeah.
I think that the challenge, and obviously this is a show about sales. The challenge is that there are difficult things that need to be done in sales, aren't there? And it's very easy to make a resolution and very difficult to keep it.
Yeah. I've stopped using the word resolution and sticking to the word plan. I guess that's the word that would resonate with many salespeople. Anyway, enough about New Year's planning and resolutions. I'm thrilled to host, or we are thrilled to host, Jordan Abbott, known as the sales poet, a true master in the world of networking and social selling. Jordan has spent the last 2 years growing his professional network by over 9,000 relevant contacts, transforming his sales outcomes and redefining what it means to connect in the digital era. As a registered Fair Ethics in Sales practitioner and ambassador of the Institute of Sales Professionals Emerging Professionals Network, Jordan embodies the principles that authenticity and hard work are the cornerstones of success. Jordan's focus on personal brand building and AI-driven strategies has made him a thought leader in the field. Please join me in welcoming an inspiring and strategic mind, Jordan Abbott.
Good morning. What an intro.
How'd you like that?
Yeah, can you follow me everywhere I go?
Yeah, why not? Welcome. So how have you been?
Yeah, very well. As you said, I think, resolutions have a place to an extent, but really you shouldn't wait until the turn of the year to get stuff done.
Yeah, good point. Really good point. So let's dive straight in, Jordan.
Indeed.
What sparked your journey toward growing such a substantial network? Because I know we spoke about this before the show. 9,000 contacts in 2 years. What is it? 5,000 in the last 12 months? Did I get that right?
Yeah, just over 5,000. I think it's 5,160 odd.
So before we get to that, what was your motivation and how did you get started with this?
So I think, in all honesty, I was getting sick of throwing spaghetti at a wall. Following old approaches and hoping for the best. I started out in telesales, so calling numbers off a sheet, then moved into sort of tech sales, SaaS sales, and it was phoning, emailing, all things that really leave their outreach where the buyer doesn't see us, the person on the receiving end doesn't see us. It's all very it feels a bit like a monologue, right?
Yeah.
It's very one-sided. There's no real conversation. And then off the back of the changes that we were seeing in buyer behaviors, we knew that things just weren't working the way that they used to. I realized I wasn't going to achieve the results that I desired by continuing down that road. And that's when our paths crossed with Adam and Tim. And that was what sparked the change or added fuel to that fire, I guess.
When you say change, though, just for our audience's benefit, for those that perhaps don't know us, you're talking about the traditional approach, using the phone, using email in a salesy way,
and
What
even
is that?
social, right?
Yeah,
Because we were using social
yeah,
not very well. We were applying those analog approaches in the digital world, trying to achieve the mass of the outreach via DMs,
yeah,
and not having done the foundational work, or not having done well enough the foundational work that that really makes the difference when you're then reaching out to people. So
which is, when you say really makes the difference.
yeah, so there's a couple of things, and I'll come on to it, but I think what it encompasses is that sort of feeling of community and trying to grow the sphere of influence that we have. So when we do reach out, rather than it just being a sales message, we're actually trying to genuinely build a relationship with this person. We've built our personal brand in the background. We're constantly creating content that is insightful, but also very human and genuine, so that when we do reach out, there's this shop window that paints us to be, a half decent person that's actually worth having a conversation with, rather than it just being a number that pops up on your phone, or an email that's, growing the spam inbox, or a DM that's just lost in the noise.
So I obviously I get this, and I see that the idea of building a community of people around you who know you, like you, trust you, that don't see you as somebody that's constantly pitching stuff to them, but see you as somebody who they like spending time with. And who knows, maybe tomorrow, maybe next year, some kind of commercial interaction might come out of that, or maybe it won't. Maybe we'll just be friends. But social enabling you to scale that community of people that you have. I get that that's a very efficient way of doing things, but you're young. You've got a very short legacy of having done the wrong things.
Yeah.
How difficult is it for somebody that is my age, been in sales for 30 years and doing these things that no longer work, used to deliver 120% of target every year and now delivers nothing? How difficult is it for people like that to change?
Yeah, I would imagine massively, right? Even for myself, as you said, I've got a short legacy of doing the wrong things. It took me 6 months, 8 months after we'd completed the training for something to click, and for me to actually go, do you know what? I need to just put all my eggs in this basket. This is the way forward. It wasn't as if, we finished the training and then that was it. There was another 6 to 8 months of pain, feeling the pain, putting myself through that pain before it did click. Now, I think the benefit that people that have been in sales for a longer period than I have, the benefit that they have is networking. In-person networking was a lot more popular. I've only been in sales since, COVID era. So I never really had the opportunities early on in my career to do the in-person networking. It was only post restrictions being lifted. I think that in-person networking builds so many core skills that can be transferred to social, when social is thought of as a digital networking space, because that's what it is. But for some reason, when we get onto social, all sort of common courtesy and these skills just goes out the window for some reason. And we think it's okay to pitch at people and to not really give a hoot about the person that sits behind the profile.
Let's just come back to that pain of 6 to 8 months, because I think it's worth just digging in a little bit there, because it's more about the pain you went through making the transformation. Is that what you're talking about, as opposed to the pain of not feeling this, the success, quote unquote?
No, so the transformation wasn't easy necessarily, but I think it was still the pain, because I was doing it for the sake of doing it, if you know what I mean, rather than fully believing it and being bought in. So I was still doing the other things, the emails, the calls, because that's what I thought worked. And there was a point where I don't know what happened. I don't know what clicked in my brain, but I just sort of decided to fully throw myself into things. And yeah, and then that sort of triggered the transformation, really. And once that thing had clicked, the transformation wasn't too difficult, and it's still sort of ongoing. So it's never complete, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So 9,000 relevant contacts, that's some growth rate. This is LinkedIn that we're talking about. So you've managed to successfully grow your network by an additional 9,000 contacts in 24 months. That sounds almost impossible to me, knowing some of the limitations that LinkedIn apply. Whether you've got a basic account or a premium account. I think you've got a Sales Navigator account, which allows you to send, a couple of hundred connection requests a week.
Yeah.
But that's something like what, a 50% connection acceptance rate on average for 2 years.
Yeah, give or take. So I think it's 200, and again, I don't know the specificities of it, but I think the Sales Nav account and the fact that the SSI is over 70, I think that's one of the milestones. Again, don't think that's confirmed, but that's just me deducing it from what I know. Yeah, there's also been some inbound connections along the way as well, that's come off the back of the content, and I think what's enabled it is the processes that I've sort of followed to ensure that I can stay consistent.
Yeah. And would you say, so if we think about this from an outbound perspective and an inbound perspective, let's look at the outbound first. What are some of the things that you're doing in order to achieve such high connection acceptance rates? And these aren't just anybody. These are your target personas, right? Your ICP that you're targeting.
Yeah, indeed. So the profile is the first thing. We need to ensure that when we actually send the connection request, when someone lands on our profile is resonating with our ICP. We look relevant. We're sharing content that is relevant to their day to day, and we look like a genuinely decent human being. Then, in terms of the actual connections, so before I get there, there's the content piece. Again, the content is sort of not fluffing up our profile, but it's adding more value, it's adding more insight as to who we are to our profile. And there's a couple of tricks that we can implement, leveraging our featured section. So the reason I bring that up is when I do send connections, I try and put the activities into buckets. So, this week I might be targeting HR leaders from tech companies. So what I'm going to do is make sure my featured section contains content that is relevant to HR leaders within the tech space. So as soon as they go on my profile, all of the pieces of content that they see in that first image of the profile makes them believe that I'm an expert in, or at least someone that's worth having a conversation with. And then on to the actual activity of sending connections, it's creating those buckets. So I sort of split my activity between focus accounts and then some volume based stuff. So focus accounts, obviously I create my focus 20, 50, whatever it may be. And then leveraging sales nav will reach out. And then on the volume piece, there's a few types of activity or a few reasons for reaching out. So if someone's engaged on some of my content, they'll always receive a connection request. If someone has engaged on a piece of content that is relevant to what I do or my space, again, I'll send a connection request. Profile visitors, send a connection request. Now, on that point, a lot of the people that view my profile are people that I've sent a connection request to in the past 3 months. And, maybe they've declined it, but I'll send a note saying, hey, notice you stopped by my profile. And 95% of the time, they'll accept that, even though they've previously declined. So
It's funny that.
way of doing things there. And then there's also a couple of other ways to ensure that there's a relevant reason for me to reach out.
So can I play devil's advocate here?
Indeed.
So you've sent loads for a change. You've sent loads of connection requests. Loads of people have accepted. You've built this huge network of relevant people. Actually, that's not sales, though. You've just built a load of people that you're connected to.
Yeah.
So for the cynical salesperson that is still seeing constant pitching as being the solution to achieving their outreach, like it used to be, if 10 calls equals 1 sale, 100 calls equals 10 sales. It's pretty easy maths.
Yeah.
So you've built this network of people. What now?
Yeah. So I think this is where the process comes into play. And before anyone goes on social, they should be crystal clear about why they are there. So for me, it is building that community, building genuine relationships, starting to lay the foundations for commercial conversations and partnerships. Now, once I've got that goal, I can then work backwards. As you said, Adam, previously it was, if I make this many dials, this many people will pick up. If this many people pick up, then I can have this many meaningful conversations. If I have this many meaningful conversations, I can book this many meetings, and then, you're in the funnel.
Yeah.
What I'm doing here is the connection request is that first step, because it's pulling people into the sphere of influence, that idea of, once they're there, they're going to see more of my content. I'm going to see more of the content that they share, that they engage with. So these are all opportunities for me to start building a relationship, having a conversation with those people. Again, it's important to be really strict with yourself in terms of the amount of comments that you make. So again, with one of the things that I'll do is every week or so, I'll go through my recently connected sort of list. If you go into my network, manage connections, you see a chronological view of everyone that you've connected with. I will painstakingly go through that list, open someone's profile, go onto their profile, see if they've shared anything. Now, only 1% of LinkedIn users post. So it's unlikely that they have posted. But what you can do is look at what they've engaged with and what they've commented on, and then comment on that. And I try and keep that process to maximum 2 minutes per person. Ideally, it's 30 seconds. Literally open the profile, have a look. If something comes to mind, then that's relevant, then I'll comment. Go through.
I don't think we can really, we shouldn't underestimate the importance of doing what you're describing there, Jordan, because we tend to be more successful when when we're trying to sell to people that we know or that know us like us and trust us. And so what you're talking about here is crossing that chasm between cold and warm,
Yeah.
and encouraging these contacts to become lukewarm, because
Exactly.
you're building that affinity over time until they become warm and they start to like us and trust us.
Yeah. And look, there is an ulterior motive there, as you said. I want them to see my face as much as possible. I want them to see my name pop up in their notification section as much as possible. That when I do then reach out and ask for the call, they're more likely to say yes. They're more likely to be receptive. Or even prior to that call request, they're more likely to respond to the message that I send. And that process of looking at what they've engaged with, one, it benefits me because they likely get notified and see my name, see my face, but also it gives me an opportunity to be doing research to understand what does this person care about, to find those triggers to then reach out with a message and start a conversation.
So when we talk about this idea of crossing the chasm, Adam was essentially asking this question. We're crossing that chasm between, I've become visible, but actually I want to have a conversation with you.
Yeah.
And crossing the chasm isn't a case of, we've had a profile visit, let me send you a message, would you like a chat?
No.
It might be that if we feel it's appropriate to do that as a result of the signals prior to that moment.
Yeah.
But it could well be, as you're describing, a series of steps that create those signals, like commenting, popping up in notifications, engaging with their content in some way.
Yeah.
What can you tell people out there to give them the confidence to keep going with this approach for those that have started and haven't quite seen the light?
Yeah. So a couple of things. I think one, just keep going. And I know it sounds really cliche and really vague, but just keep going, because just by doing something, it will spark ideas. It will sharpen your tools. There's that saying, action comes before inspiration, right? So just by doing the process of doing the activity will spark ideas, will help you to realize another prospect that you hadn't previously considered that's actually engaging with a load of this content. It just it really helps. And then the second piece is really measuring what matters.
Yeah.
Because by having that view, it enables you to test and optimize in specific areas. What's going to move the needle most? Where are things dropping off? Where do I need to focus on moving forward? What's actually going well?
Yeah. So in summary, if you don't mind, I'm gonna massively simplify everything that you've just said, because it's no fluke getting to 9,000 new relevant connections in 24 months. What you're saying is it's important to, number one, develop your personal brand, understand what you really want to be known for so that your audience can see you for the right reasons. Number two, it's about content creation and creating content that aligns to your personal brand so that your audience can actively see who you are, what you do, and what you're known for. Ideally aligned to the outcomes that you deliver to your audience.
Yeah.
And number three, engagement. And so, sending those network connection requests, but also taking the time to engage with them, with their content, with content that's relevant to them, so that your audience constantly sees you popping up in their timeline.
Yeah.
And then, coming to what you just said at the end there, which I think is critical, is the measurement. So So give the audience a little bit of an idea of how your performance changed, from what you were doing before to then doing this new approach. But then perhaps could you touch on some of the things that are critical to measure on a weekly basis to ensure that you're doing the right things, you're consistently doing the right things?
Yeah, indeed. So from the point of pain, prior to doing the training during that 6 months to, the following 12 months after making the change, my meeting booking rate increased by 6.7x. So it went up to 9%, I think it was, from 1.3 or something.
Right.
And the amount of people that accepted and showed up for a call when I requested one. So that's how many first meetings was I booking. Then
hold on a sec. Let's just think about that from anybody out there that's struggling with generating pipeline. You make 10 calls, nobody talks to you. You make 10 outreaches and one person talks to you.
Yeah, look, more than one talk to me. One accept.
Okay, has a proper meeting. Yeah, I mean that's a staggering output, really, isn't it? Because most cold calling teams are doing like 60, 70 dials to get a meaningful conversation with somebody.
Yeah,
more than that, I would say.
But maybe,
60 to 70 connects in order to have a meaningful conversation.
Okay,
yeah.
And then in terms of what I measure, typically it's network growth and follower growth. How many posts I'm making, how many of those are human, how many impressions am I getting on those posts, but more importantly, how many people are engaging, because then I know who is engaging and I can then proactively reach out to them. Thanks for engaging, ask a question off the back of it, start a conversation. How many comments am I making on other people's content, so my prospects' content or the content that my prospects are engaging with? How many people am I requesting a call with? How many of those people then show up to that call? How many of those calls move on, so progress? How many of those are a meaningful conversation and there's actually something there to continue exploring? And then of those calls, how many become an opportunity?
Wow.
And off the top of my head, my meeting generation rate has dropped slightly since I've moved to the role that I'm currently working. So it's at about 6%, 6.3 officially. So I'm doing testing, how I can increase that. One of the things I'm doing at the minute is voice notes. I'm really sort of doubling down on that as a way to appear more human and cut through the noise. But what I am finding is, of those calls that I'm having a lot more meaningful conversations. So at the moment, around 28% of those conversations become a meaningful conversation, and then 58% of those meaningful conversations become an opportunity.
Wow.
At the moment. And again, I think it's, one, I'm having a lot more calls than I did have. So I'm getting better at managing those calls. But I think a lot of the time, the work that I'm doing on social lays the foundation for a good call, because people join the call and they feel like they already sort of know me. I'll join a call and we'll start talking about a piece of content that I shared, or a tagline or something that I've been doing. And it just helps to lay the foundation for a productive call, whether that progresses or whether it doesn't, because, timing's not right or whatever it may be.
Yeah. I'm conscious of time. I've got to dig into this because, right. So you're saying that you get calls, you have a conversation with 6.4% of people that you've asked to have a call with that match your ICP.
Yeah.
So that's 6.4 people for every 100.
Yeah.
29% progress to a meaningful conversation.
I think it's about 28.
28%.
29, yeah.
And of those, 58% become a qualified opportunity.
Yeah.
So I think by my maths, and I was never very good at maths, for every 100 people you ask to have a call with, you're creating one net new qualified opportunity. Because 6 calls, 28% of 6.4 is about 2, and half of those 2 meaningful conversations become a qualified opportunity.
Yeah, to be fair, I haven't done that calculation, but I will do as soon as we get off.
I would, because you can build a business on that. How long have you been measuring this? So, is this, how long have you been measuring?
Been measuring this for 2.5, 3 years consistently, sort of religiously. And
so this is solid data.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. And just on that point, so we use a tool called Teamfluence, which makes things nice and easy. Would highly recommend taking a look at it if you wanted to. But equally, I also keep a manual Excel sheet for my benefit and for internal benefits, which I'm happy to share. I'm happy to share the template with people, which will actually break down what you need to measure, as well as all of the conversion rates between each stage.
That's fantastic. So you've heard it here, and for anyone struggling to build predictability into their pipeline and revenue generation, or predictability in growing their business, this to me sounds like the perfect way to do it. And as Jordan has said, he's offered up his template. So if anyone wants to see Jordan's template, I guess drop a note in the comments, or
send him a connection request.
Indeed,
send him a connection request. So what's the one thing you would leave our audience with today, Jordan, if there was just one thing?
Yeah, I think it's measure what matters, and I'll say that because it allows me to break it down into 2 things. So first, you need to understand what matters to you and be crystal clear about it, because then it enables you to work backwards and ensure that you are employing the right lead measures that will bring you closer to achieving that. And then actually measuring gives you the insight into what's actually going well. Where do I need to improve? What can I do to improve? And it just enables this testing and optimization mindset, which will have the biggest impact.
Yeah, fantastic. Absolutely brilliant. Thank you, Jordan. It's been enlightening. It's been an eye-opener.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Brilliant. Absolutely.
And Mr. Gray, lovely to be on the panel with you again.
Yeah, likewise, Alex.
To everyone else, thanks for tuning in. Until next time on Sales TV, have a great rest of the week, folks.